Hey guys, it's Chris Lewitt here, top American junior coach and coach to many #1 juniors in the US. I'm excited to share with you some forehand footage. We're going to talk about the Lasso finish, continue our conversation from our last video, talking about the Lasso, the reverse. I have Alcaraz, I have Sinner, I have Ruud, I have a number of top pros to go through here, and we all got it in slow motion. So stay tuned, let's check this out. We got Alcaraz here first. And we've been looking at the Lasso finish and talking about different follow-throughs. Look at this straight arm extension here. It's a great example of straight lever, optimizing the lever here, maximizing power transfer. Check this out. Nice straight arm here. Beautiful. You know, he's in that straight arm category where he's maximizing internal shoulder rotation here to try to get topspin, which Dr. Brian Gordon talks about. So right here, the internal rotation of the shoulder helps you brush that ball really fast. It's one of the fastest rotations in the human body, the ISR. And let's look at the follow-throughs, because we're talking about follow-throughs today with a number of different pros. Look how high. All the pros in this footage is courtesy of Slow-Mo Tennis, so I appreciate them sharing a little bit of footage here, Slow-Mo Tennis. And all of these follow-throughs from the pros that we're going to see are pretty high. So you look at that here. Look how the hand is almost at head level here. You know, very high. And as you see, Alcaraz finishes. That wrist flexion there. You can see that right there. He likes to flex his wrist, has the strings facing down here. So he's up high. He's got like that gooseneck there. See that? And the finish is going to be right around shoulder level. And then the racket settles around the bicep area. But he was up very high, through most of that swing. Look at the low to high here. Some people say there's no low to high in the swing. I mean, look at this swing. It's going to come from down here to the ball and then, way up here. Low. That racket's very low. If you look here, the racket's down here. Up, 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 up. I mean, it's pretty extreme low to high. You're going to get a lot of topspin from that. You're going to see that as a theme, all the forehands that we see here. Let's talk about the reverse. There's another one. Straight arm. Rotation of the shoulder. Pretty high. Almost like a classical finish here. Which, there's a lot of examples of that now on tour, interestingly. And there are many examples. I'll have to do another video where we have like a Berrettini style, or there's a number of guys who windshield wiper and keep the racket a little bit lower in the follow through. I think we got a reverse here coming up. This is a straight one. That extension, beautiful. Love it. Check that out. High finish here. Look how high that is. It's up over his shoulders. Might as well be the 1980s here. But then the guys kind of relax it a little bit and let the racket fall with gravity during the deceleration phase here. We got a Lasso here. No, another high gooseneck. Check that out there. incredible extension here. This is what I'd like for all my students. You may not be able to get this, but try for this. You don't see this. You see it with women, but you don't see it as much. I believe you see more and more women using this kind of configuration to maximize the lever here. Dr. Brian Gordon also agrees. He sees almost 40% of the WTA players using this style, but you still see a significant, majority of female players who do not get this configuration, interestingly. All right, we're back. We got the Lasso. Here we go. All right, so this one's semi-open stance. Check that down here. Let's see where the height of the ball is. I have a theory that a lot of players are using the Lasso on higher balls, especially when they're moving out wide. This one is not that high. Look, it's right around his belly button level, waist level. Look where the racket's coming from. Who's making videos on YouTube saying you don't swing low to high, you shouldn't swing low to high? Because look at the position of this racket. If you can look carefully here, that racket is scooping way down here. You can see a really big lag here. Check that out. Look how the wrist is laid back here in extension. Tremendous lag on this one. He's looking to get a lot of whip here. The racket's coming from there to there, upward. And then the racket's gonna keep going upward into here, but I believe on this one he's gonna reverse it around. I got a lot of other reverse finishes to show you as well. Look at this one. He's coming up. He's not late. See, that's a misconception. He's early here. He's way out in front here. Look at that. He's way early, but yet he's thinking, is he thinking topspin? Like, what's his mindset? What's his tactical intention? Is he thinking topspin? Is he thinking I'm going to go up a little higher here? And so, does he activate the bicep a little bit? Does he do a little more shoulder lift, which is shoulder flexion? You see a little bicep activation possibly here? Or is it just bicep? Is it just passive bicep movement, or is it slight bicep activation and shoulder activation to get the racket? Now he's going very vertical. Racket's going up, 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 higher than before. If you recall, the follow-throughs before were on the classic ones were about here, maybe a little bit above the shoulder. And on this one, look where the hand is. So he's much higher, so it's a much more vertical swing path. So, my hypothesis is the players are thinking I'm upward, vertical, a little more bicep activation, a little more shoulder flexion, and that's going to lift the racket up and cause it to wrap around the head. Makes for a convenient pathway around the head. Look how high this is. And what's interesting is when you put the bicep like this, bicep right near the face, he blocks the vision for a brief moment right here. He's blocking one of his eyes, or possibly both of his eyes, right here, which I don't recommend, but it's happening so fast. And the ball's, he's not in any danger of, the other guy hitting the ball right here, unless the guy comes to net. So now his eyes are clear, and the racket's going to wrap around, and the racket then it flares out that way at the end. Pretty cool. Look at that. Look at that flare right there. Don't try that. Don't try this at home if you're a recreational player or a young kid. Although I have a little 8-year-old I'm working with right now who does it pretty well. But look at this racket. The racket's off this way. Forearms this way. It's all crossed up here. The racket's vertical to the sky, slightly back. This is his finish right there. He brings it down. He's ready to go for another forehand or whatever. He's holding it right here. That's the end. It's wild. You really didn't see this frequently back in the day. I had one of our viewers send me an old clip of Borg from the 70s. I appreciate that. And Borg actually did a reverse finish, a lasso type finish like this. Borg was way ahead of his time. And so You know, guys, it is possible that players from the past did this if they were loose and whippy like Borg, but this was not commonplace. And this is becoming so common now on tour. Like you see so many top guys doing this. Alcaraz does it, just like Rafa, more frequently than maybe anybody. All right, so here we go. We got Medvedev. Once again, let's talk about low to high here. Look where this racket's starting out. He's going to go from down there to the ball and then way up near the shoulder, or he may reverse this one, or I don't think he lasso. I think he hooks this one. A hook is when you come up on the same side or the right side of the body. Let's see what he does here. Notice he doesn't get as much extension as Alcaraz. You can look at the configuration here. He has got a more acute angle than Alcaraz. Alcaraz is a lot straighter, typically. But Medvedev still has a strong ATP pro forehand, although he doesn't have as many of the ATP characteristics as some of the other guys we're going to see. So he's got pretty good impact here. I would say it's even less than, this is near impact now. It's probably less than 120 degrees, maybe 110 degrees. And he tends to be jammed up like this. So he's not maximizing his lever. So look where he activates. This is where I think there may be some bicep activation. Players are thinking topspin. They're at impact. They're thinking topspin, and they're going to pull upwards with a little bit of bicep activation and a little bit of shoulder flexion. Literally pulling upwards. And the racket is going to travel very vertical here. Look at this. Up there, and then eventually, I think he might abbreviate this finish. He may not lasso this one all the way around. Let's see. He does. He comes all around. Look at he's brushing his hair. He doesn't block his eyes as much. So this one doesn't block his eyes. This is more on the right side. It's really cool. He's coming up on the right side. The racket crosses over. Racket barely, it just goes over the top of his head. And then he finishes with the flare that Alcaraz had. You can see that flare. I mean, just look at this position. This is wild, like who would have ever taught this in a technique book back in the day? This is as far from classic as you can get, except that it is classic in the sense that he's going very low to high, but ultra modern. Why? Look at this finish. I bet you never, never learned that in your private lesson at the club back in the day. All right, let's continue. Got Medvedev again. Medvedev's not as ATP for this. This is one of the main reasons he's not as ATP as some others. Look at that backswing. That is a type 2 medium-sized backswing. Like a lot of women have a backswing like that. The racket's crossing the plane. It's interesting. But he still hits his forehand pretty well, despite the unorthodoxy for a male player. So he's cramped here. This one looks a little bit late. Look at the angle in his arm here. It looks like he's almost 90 degrees here. He looks a little cramped and late. And watch what he's going to do. He's going to activate bicep, activate shoulder, come straight up, and he just stops right there. That's the end of this swing right there. So he just comes like straight vertical into a 90-degree angle. Very interesting. Doesn't even go around his head here. Maybe he didn't have as much racket speed. It looked like he was a little bit late and he just came straight up. Fascinating, right? This is what I classify as more of a hooking action. That's where he finishes, right there. Straight vertical. Can see that? Doesn't come around his head. All right, here's another one I selected. Whoa. All right, check this one out. That's the first one. That's the second one, the hook. So we got the lasso, the hook, when you're late and you got to whip it up. And here is, look at the size of that backswing. Pretty big backswing for a male player. Semi-open stance. Nice wide base there. I like that. He's going to go slightly better spacing here. Still, not anything like Alcaraz at all. See those two differing styles in terms of straighter arm configuration? Let's see where he goes with this one. And this one's a classic. Like this is basically out of a textbook from the 70s. Look at this follow through. Wild. Right to the shoulder. I have another top player. I have Sinner doing the same type of top of the shoulder follow through as Medvedev later on in this video. Stay tuned for that. I never teach this anymore, but then you see some top pros who are still following through very much low to high over the shoulder, which I don't really teach to my young students, but it just shows you if you're loose and whippy, you can follow through a little higher. It's no big deal, just like Sinner. Sinner's super whippy, and he doesn't have to turn it over and finish low. Here's one more. We've got another variation of the hook here. This is a hook with a mild lasso. So he comes up has a little more racket speed. I mean, look how cramped he is here. So he feels cramped. He feels late. This is a great example. Look at the angle here. He's cramped. He's late. Possibly late. It's a little hard to tell from this angle. But he's going to come straight vertical here. He's basically coming straight up. Look at the angle change in his bicep. Look at that look at the elbow angle change. From he's cramped, hits the ball, comes straight up. And he just uses his shoulder flexion, lifts the whole arm up above his head, and then abruptly finishes here, the mild lasso here. Doesn't block his eyes though. That's preferable, not to block your face, because you want your vision clear right here. Right here he can see clearly. Here's one more for good measure. Super cramped. He's not maximizing his power transfer here, but he's 6'6". He can rip the ball. And this one, he's trying to put more topspin on. I think he's attacking down the line here. He's just going to come straight up. Straight up. Very abrupt, abbreviated upward finish there. Very much like a buggy whip. Sometimes it's called a buggy whip. This is the buggy whip. Sometimes Jeff Salzenstein talks about the buggy whip. That's what we used to call it, back in the 80s, 90s, a little bit 90s, buggy whip. It's not a lasso. He doesn't really go around his head. Look where he finishes, straight up here at the top. Huh. That's it. That's his follow-through. You wouldn't teach that to your young juniors at the club, would you? Or maybe you would. Modern tennis. A lot of different finishes in modern tennis. All right, here's Casper. Another great, really just learning here that, talking about the low to high. Look at this racket, way below the ball. Good, very, very well below the ball. And then he's going to swing up to the ball here. And then that racket is going to go way up, very similar to Alcaraz. Check this out. Really good brushing from down, up, low to high, internal shoulder rotation, windshield wiper, and look at the hand position. He's got a little bit of the gooseneck like Alcaraz, very similar to Alcaraz. And look how high this finishes. Sometimes you don't see this because he's swinging so fast. Look how high he's going here. I think that's instructive. You're still going to go from down, up. Lifting. Look how he uses legs. Legs primed. And his legs are going to extend the same time that, similar moment that the arm is raising up. The arm's rising up. Look at that high finish. That could be a classic finish. If he just wraps it around his neck, you got a classic finish from the 70s and 80s right here. But instead, the players kind of let it go loose. And the ultimate follow through, the end of the swing is about here. And that's what most people see. They see that he's finishing with the hand much lower at the end here, but he actually comes way higher there, and then the racket starts to fall with gravity and settles maybe there. So the key is you're still going to swing up and out. You still got to swing up and out, even if you're going to do like a big windshield wiper, and you're going to follow through a bit lower, like modern finish, inverted finish. Look, you're still going to swing up and out, out, and around. Up, out, and around. And then you can settle low at the end. Very high. These are very high examples of follow-throughs. There are other examples not as high, but these are very high. He likes that one. All right, let's see. I got one more for you. I think I have a reverse here. Casper loves to get off the ground. This is something I work on with all my students. Look at the body control off the ground here. Wide hips. This is very important. A nice wide hips. Midair flying. Windshield wiper. And then hip abduction, abduction as he lands. I think that's very important. The abduction, wide hips wide as he's landing, good stable base, lands almost simultaneously. I work on this a lot with my students. Well, one foot's down before the other, but close. He's super balanced here, looks like Spider-Man. Work on that a lot with my players. We don't have a reverse for Casper, but we did see his high follow-through. And here's Thiem. Check this out. Here's a big-time lasso. He's got a lot of racket speed. Can tell he's swinging very fast here. What does that remind you of? Medvedev and Alcaraz. Look at the elbow position. Now he needs a long pathway to decelerate. So he's going to come around the head. And that hand's very high. That's higher than any one we've seen so far. Look where his hand is in a relation. He's in full shoulder flexion here. Basically got his arm is vertical. Shoulder fully flexed. Blocking his vision. I don't recommend that. It's blocking his vision. He's airing out his armpit. Blocking his face. Wild. Would you teach that to your local students if you're a coach? Or, should we teach that? Look at that. Look, he's got the same racket flare that I was talking about. The racket flares out and back to the side. Very interesting there. All these guys flare the racket out. And then the finish, just like Alcaraz, almost identical. Racket's vertical on the right side. He's ready to go with another forehand. Look at that. How you doing? Right there. Nice. It's virtually identical to Alcaraz. I really like this start position. Been working on this with a few players. The left arm across. Really good for measuring the space. Helps to coil the body. It's really nice how he gets both elbows away here. Got that push. It's almost like doing a push-up or a bench press position in the beginning here. Really like that. Thiem always had a great forehand. All these guys showing a lot of lag. These are high-speed swings. You can see the lag back behind his body there. Look at the racket position. You can see that back there. Super lag, super whippy. Inside-out swing. Not straight arm like Alcaraz, but, not bad. He's got, better than a lot of the women are getting. So he's a little cramped on that one. So what does he do? Might be a little cramped. So he comes straight vertical, around the head, but not a full lasso. He does lasso that one. There you go. See this one. All right, this is a classic. Here's another example of pro top forehand. It's got a lot of modern stuff. Whip, lag here, but some classic stuff. He's got some low to high. He's coming from down here, up and around, and then watch where the racket goes from impact Look how high. Look how high the elbow and hand are. I know a lot of coaches who like it this way. I teach it a little lower, and I don't like to block the face with the forearm like that. Right here is face block, cross face. I don't like to go cross face like that, but these guys are showing that this is a variation that is working well on the men's ATP Tour. So he's up here pretty high. It reminds me of Alcaraz. It reminds me of Ruud. Very similar. Sometimes he'll catch it up here. See if he catches this one. Not quite. Yeah, he does catch it at the end. So at the end, look how he catches it. He accelerates and then he catches it way back there. If you're going to catch the racket, which is pretty rare nowadays, you should catch it way back in the zone like that. Don't catch it like out here. A lot of people catch the racket in front of them, and it sort of prevents a long pathway of deceleration. May even subconsciously prevent you from accelerating maximally, which is interesting. So here's a rare catch. You don't see this as much anymore. All right, here's Holger. Holger's got a classic straight arm, or a modern straight arm. Just like Alcaraz in the configuration. Super, super straight, Look at that. What we got there. Super straight arm, really far, really long lever, which I like. Look at the space. Look how much space between him and the ball. Fantastic. Can we get more female players to do that? I think we can. Look at that space. Beautiful. Here's another example. See, this compilation is all more classical finishes. It's got to be. Because there are plenty of pros. Don't get the wrong idea. There are many pros that don't finish this high, but this is a good cohort of pros that do. Classic. Down. This is a little higher ball. And then the racket wraps just like Alcaraz around, the bicep, or Ruud. Yeah, look, cross face. I always tell my players, try not to cross face. But these guys are crossing face a little bit, very, very high elbow, high hand positions. Just goes to show you, there's more than one way to follow through. Tremendous lag. Straight arm configuration. Look how low the racket is here. He's trying to get under this ball for spin. Look how low that racket is. And watch how the racket's going to come from down there. Full lag there. Look at that tremendous lag. Can you see that? See that racket, that wrist laid back? You're going to whip that racket head through. And, it almost looks like a swing from the 80s from here to here. Just look, lifting up. Not as much, windshield wiper and internal shoulder rotation here as you would see on some other types of forehands or some other guys. Like if I put Kyrgios up here, you're going to see a lot more windshield wiper and heavy internal shoulder rotation. And a very rare catch finish. Look at this classical finish. You don't see that as much on the Pro Tour these days. Well, there you go. You can swing low to high, and you can catch your finish and follow through high with the hand and elbow, and it's still okay as long as you can stay loose and whippy. That's the key. So here's the man, Sinner. This is one of the things he does so well. It's this beautiful open stance. He does this open stance so well on both sides. Okay, we're back. He's so good with the open stances. How about Sinner's configuration? He's not straight. This one is pretty close. Pretty close to a right angle there with his arm. He's got this classic double bend configuration where the elbows bend, the wrists bend. And he still has a world-class forehand. He's not straight, but he's not, a lot of women are a lot more jammed up than this. Still got a great forehand. And here we have again a classical finish. He doesn't cross face too much, doesn't cross his eyes at least. And this is, very traditional. And then the guys kind of let it drift. This one, he doesn't let it drift too much. He's basically following through at his shoulder. That's pretty traditional. Here's another one. What's not traditional is the way he turns the racket face here. This is very next gen. So he combines like a next gen take back, a bent arm at impact. So not a straight arm configuration, but a super, fully pronated position here. The strings are facing the back fence. That's what I mean by a pronated position. And then he whips the racket. He's got tremendous lag. He's super mobile. You can see the lag here, just like I was talking about with the other guys. A lot of lag on these videos. The racket head comes flying through here, flying around. Good topspin brushing action here. And this finish is high up near the shoulder. It's back to the future. This is 1980s, man. It's like super whippy, next gen take back, but 1980s finish. Classic. Here's another one. This one is at the top of the shoulder, like Medvedev, just like we were talking about with Medvedev. This one's at the top of the shoulder. Like very rarely see pros do this nowadays. Djokovic occasionally does it up here too. But I feel this is not as common as it once was. There are some examples here, but I think I can make another video with 10 to 15 guys who never do this. What do you guys think? Leave a comment, let me know. I think I have one Sinner Lasso to finish up here. Look at this lag. He's so whippy. Look at the racket here. Look how flipped over this racket is. It's not only lagged backwards, but look how down it is. Look at the racket, how inverted it is. This is a lot of topspin on this one. He whips up. Internal shoulder rotation, good rotation, windshield wiper action there, but it's a high wiper. Elbows high. He doesn't usually cross face here. You can see, I don't like when you disrupt the vision here. He's still got his vision here, which is good. And a very classical finish. And here's the one on the run. So this is very common. He's on the full run, and he jumps to the right. A lot of players do this now. The ball is up high in the strike zone, and this is what I'm saying. I'm seeing a lot of guys lasso at this up here. So he's up near his chest level, near the shoulder level, and that particular ball, it's very easy to just keep going up and lasso right around the head. So I think a lot of guys are intuitively doing that. They're hitting the ball up a little higher in the strike zone. They want to get some topspin on it, and they come up and around and lasso. Although he does miss this one in the net, I believe. So he didn't hit this one well. Look at this. So look at the lasso, just like Alcaraz. He comes around his head, bicep near the face there. You can see that, right? Bicep near the face. And then the racket's flaring out. Talked about that. Racket flares out to the right. And that's the ending. Racket comes down on the right side. You have this vertical position, just like Alcaraz, just like a couple other guys we saw. That's the ending. He caught the net here, so he didn't hit it very well. He didn't get under. Maybe he didn't lift it enough. He's probably a little bit late. He's on the run. He comes straight up and around. Doesn't even try to turn that over, turn it down. All right, guys, let me know any comments or questions. Are these guys activating the bicep? Are they activating the shoulder to raise that racket up? Is that passive movement or active muscle contraction? And what are the guys thinking intentionally? What are their tactical intention when they're hitting these lasso finishes? Is it just total instinct? Are they thinking topspin and getting the ball up higher? I think that's my suspicion. I think they're hitting the ball in the last moment. They're thinking, I'm going to lift this ball up, go a little higher, and that translates into this more vertical finish.